Hi, my name's Alyssa, and today we're going to be talking about horror in art, literature, and movies. Now, horror is more than just a genre that is meant to only cause fear and negative emotions within an individual, and in fact has the unique ability to dive down into the deepest recess of the human psyche and go far beyond just simple tales of the supernatural and monsters. Now, horror in novels, movies, and art also explore and confront societal fears and anxieties, as well as allow people to explore these anxieties in a controlled environment. It also brings forward a broad range of emotions and also influences people's perception and understanding of fear, suspense, and the human psyche. Now, horror is a recurring theme throughout literature, film, and art, and can typically seek to invoke fear, dread, and the sense of macabre within an audience. However, it kind of goes, like I stated before, far beyond that, and despite exploring elements such as supernatural, death, and grotesque themes, it also kind of explores the psychological reactions that people can have, as well as stated before, really plays on societal fears and allows the society as a collective group really process these fears within a fictional context. Now, when it comes to a single person's definition of horror, it's going to be a very broad and varying answer. For some, it can be something as simple as an unsettling feeling, while to others, horror can be an incomprehensible fear. Now, starting off with horror in art, it can be found throughout many different types of art pieces and by many artists. And I really want to start off with the Romanticism movement, which typically included themes and symbols that hid into the towards death and the inevitable nature of death. Now, these symbols are usually called vanitas, and they can be found throughout many different paintings, such as skulls, candles, flowers, fruit, and even bubbles. However, there's also some paintings where it's not as, it's more noticeable when they bring these themes into the painting, such as Francisco Goya's painting Saturn Devouring His Sun, which is actually going to be the first piece we're going to delve into here. Now, taking a closer look at this painting by Francisco Goya, who is a Spanish Romantic painter. He was born in 1746 and later died in 1828. And in a lot of Goya's paintings, such as this one we're about to go over, they really focused on the wickedness of human nature. And in many of his paintings, there are symbols and imagery that really allude to the ideals of the Romanticism period. Now, Saturn Devouring His Sun is actually a part of Goya's Black paintings, and it's a series of intense and disturbing works that Goya painted directly onto the walls of his homes. Now, this painting depicts Saturn eating his sons upon their birth so that they would not be able to overthrow him in his rule. And this painting, Goya really uses dark colors and a really bright highlighting and dark shadows to cause it to look more dramatic and intimidating. And the main highlighting being on the sun that is being devoured really causes the viewers to look right at the disturbing scene, as well as into the eyes of Saturn, almost making it impossible to ignore these dark aspects of the painting. Now, when it comes to the meaning of this painting, there could be a lot of different things. Now, one of them can be, Saturn devouring his sun can be seen as a representation of mortality and the decay of all living things, which, as stated previously, was a really common theme within the Romanticism movement. And it also leads into those societal fears concerning death. Now, these Black paintings were created during a period of political and social turmoil in Spain, so a lot of other people typically see these paintings kind of alluding to the brutality of war and the fear of horror that war brings. Now, another really interesting fact is that these paintings were created during a time of personal crisis for Goya, and can in fact actually reflect Goya's own fears and anxieties. And once again, this painting, despite its disturbing and horrific nature, is a really great, has really great symbolic weight, and invites viewers to a safe way to contemplate the broader themes of the human psyche, as well as the darker aspects of existence. Now, besides art, there's also horror within literature, such as Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Dracula by Bram Stoker, which were also written during the Romanticism period. So it kind of has a lot of the same similar themes, although just in a written form. Another famous literature author is H.P. Lovecraft, who is known for the Cthulhu mythos, and he helped introduce incomprehensible entities and horror to the that related to horror to the field. And a large amount of horror stories such as H.P. Lovecraft, Frankenstein, and Dracula kind of followed more, they explored moral and ethical dilemma, where characters may grapple with difficult choices in extreme circumstances. And actually, I want to kind of bring in our second art piece. It's by William Bouguereau, who was a really famous French painter who was born in 1825 and died in 1905. And he was really known for his realistic genre paintings, as well as he used mythological themes to create modern interpretations of classical subjects. Now, you may be wondering why this relates to literature, and I think it's actually a great visual piece that kind of brings into question the horror literature that questions moral and extreme choices. So his piece, Dante and Virgil in Hell, which it also has really deep shadows and highlights, especially on the highlighted figures in the middle, and it causes them to stand out from the rest. It really shows the struggle, and especially the two men that they embrace and each other, and but in a negative way. And in the background, we can actually see the two figures watching, and that, I believe that's actually Dante and Virgil, and they're kind of seeing these negative imagery of hell, and kind of setting up the tone of loneliness and desolation of the damned souls and the weight of their sins, which is a very a big message to viewers, and making correct choices, especially in extreme circumstances. Now, the reason I wanted to relate that to literature is because, like I stated before, existential dread and extreme choices, and I thought this painting was the perfect piece that really relayed that message. Now, moving on to a film and horror. The film is typically the first thing that people think of when it comes to horror. Most people, if you don't read, if you don't look at art, you've probably seen a movie, and you've probably seen a horror movie. Now, horror movies have a very large, profound impact on audiences because it uses two senses, your vision and your hearing. And movies like The Shining typically have that more psychological effect on people, while other movies, kind of like The Conjuring, relies more on jump scares. So movies can really use effects that kind of can scare you one way or the other. Now, I want another great thing about movies and horror is that there's a lot of live actions, which, unlike a painting or literature, it's an actual person you're looking at moving and talking and really causing the viewers to embrace this feeling of being within the film. And while, you know, some people love that adrenaline rush and thrill that movies can cause, others may find the experience overwhelming and distressing. Now, a good example of like how horror movies can affect the viewers is actually a William Mumler's image, Herbert Wilson of Boston, with the spirit of a young woman to whom he once had been engaged. And the reason this is kind of relates to that theme of how movies can bring you in, especially to explore the human psyche, because it's a live action, is that this is in a photo of a real person and can really cause a viewer to question whether the image is legit or not. Now, Mumler is he's an American photographer who really worked within the spirit photography. And a lot of his images, as kind of the definition states, it has these spirits within the background, including this image here that we're going to look at. Now, in this image, we see Herbert sitting in a chair. It's a normal kind of portrait that was done during this time. And if you look closely, it's almost hard to miss because it's so light. You can actually see an arm wrapping around his shoulder, and it's the arm of a woman that you can kind of see her head right above his. And by looking at this, the image almost seems both eerie but also hopeful, because if we are to question off the title that this is Herbert and his late fiance. So it kind of, although it is horror, it's also kind of hopeful that this is a loved one. Now, like with many horror films, the spirit photography uses a person's mind and imagination to create a sense of the supernatural, and once again causes an individual to wonder and explore the human psyche and beliefs. Now, the use of these photography manipulations actually influence and had an impact on horror film throughout the industry as well. Now, horror, like whether it manifested in movies, novels, and art, it stands as a reflection of our collective fears and even phobias throughout society or the individual. And it really, as stated before, lets the individuals embark on their own journey to transcend past just entertainment or just fear and explore the human experience itself. Thank you.